Okay, so quick update on the Stuart Turner water pump. Now, I've decided to build a little trolley for it. Now, ideally I would like to have used hardwood, but I didn't have any, so this is some old scrap timber from an old pine bed frame, which I think will be strong enough for it. I didn't really know what to do for wheels, so I was looking on online, on eBay and other places, and I ended up getting a cheap set of casters. These are 100 mil by 27 mil. They're not ideal, but they should be well strong enough. All four are rated at 600 kilos, which I very much doubt actually, but you know, they'll do the trick. Now, I've removed them from the caster part, and I'm going to use axles for them, and I'm going to make some axle blocks out of some 1-inch square brass, and basically that will sit on there like that. Very crude, very straightforward. There'll be some 6mm bolts go down through there, threaded into there, and then the 8mm axle will run through there. So that's the plan. Once it's all done, obviously I need to treat the wood and everything, but hopefully that will provide a nice base for the pump. That's the theory. So I thought what would be interesting would be to actually weigh the pump, because it's fairly heavy, but I don't exactly know how heavy it is. So I thought we'd weigh it just to see what it actually is. Now, this is an old Neopost EPS 70-30. These are used by businesses to weigh parcels, and the beauty of this machine is it's not just a scale. It will do up to 30 kilos, but depending on which one of these buttons you press, it will give you the postage cost in this window over here. So you'll get the weight and then the cost. Now, as I said, this thing's about 30 years old, so the ROM in it, which determines prices, is way out of date. So the amount of money it says it's going to cost to post is completely wrong. But as a scale, this is just great. It works. It still works absolutely fine. So we'll stick the Stuart Turner water pump on there, and we'll see what it says. Okay, so I'll bring you down in on the scale. It's saying 22.93 kilos, which I would guesstimate to be pretty much spot on. Let's see if we can zoom in on that so you can actually read it. Yeah, there you go, 22.93 kilos. Now, it's saying overweight. Basically, that means that it's too heavy for all of them. So obviously, none of the things I can select on here will cancel the overweight thing. But that's not the point. We wanted to see what it was weight-wise, and just 22.93 kilos. So let's stick the electric motor on it and see how much that weighs. Okay, so I've got the electric motor on there. Combined, they're over the 30 kilos that the actual scales can handle. So let's see what that says. The overhead light is in the way. There we go. 11.96. So what was the other one? 23? Yeah, so call that 12. Yeah. So we're looking at about 35 kilos combined weight with the motor. So, yeah. Well, no wonder it's heavy to lift. So there you go. You get the general idea of what we're hoping to achieve here. So the next stage will be to machine up the axle boxes. I might show a little bit of that because it will be work for the Sherline mill. But yeah, so that's the plan at the moment. So here's the setup on the Sherline. I'm just going to clean up this face first, and then I will flip it around, mark off. I want 2 inches on the length on this piece, and then mill this end off to length. Right, well, I'm going to keep going. I've just got to get this. There's a groove in the middle of this face here, and I need to get that out. We're nearly there, so I'm going to keep going and until that's gone. And I think that's that end done. It's very difficult actually getting light in on the work on the mill. It's difficult to get to, but yeah, there we go. That's that end done. So now I've just got to measure it up and mill the other end to the correct length. Okay, so the block has been milled up to size and marked up for the holes. This is the main axle hole. Now I'm using a centre drill rather than a spotting drill, which is what ideally I should use, because it's just, I find it easier to get the centre drills right on the centre pot mark. So that's the reason for that. So we'll just get this going. Right, that's that one done. Spot on. So before we centre drill the other two holes, obviously what I've done is I've left exactly the same setup, and I've swapped out the centre drill for a 7.75mm drill, which is the right size for reaming 8mm. So we'll do that first. And there we go, job done. Takes a little while on the show line, which is not really surprising, and 7.75mm drill is quite a big drill for this little tiny mill, but we've done it and that's ready to be reamed. So the first axle block, all the machining is done. That's the 7.75mm hole through the middle, that still needs to be reamed to 8mm, and we've got two 5mm holes drilled to a depth of 1/2 inch. So we're going to tap those for 6mm, and they'll be the mounting threads. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for you to see the tapping guide in action, because it makes doing this kind of thing dead simple. So we've got our block and our 6mm by 1 tap in the tapping guide, and it's just so easy because you can't get a wonky hole with this basically. So obviously it's easy when it's brass anyway. So oh, I haven't quite got that done up tight enough. I'll just nip that up. Yeah. This really does make tapping easy, this tapping guide. I can't recommend highly enough you making yourself one of these. Dead simple. You've seen the video on how I made this, but it just makes life so much easier. And of course, using the ER16 collets doesn't chew up your taps should they slip like that one did to start with. So right, I think we're about there. So let's take this out. I've got to go in again with the bottom in tap, but no. There we go. One perfectly tapped hole. So I shall do the next one, and then apart from a bit of shaping, I might curve the ends on this, and obviously we still got to ream the axle hole. That's that axle block done, and 3 more to go. Well, the axle blocks are finished. I rounded the corners off on the belt sander, which is just to make it look a bit pretty. There's your 2 tapped 6mm holes to hold it onto the wooden frame, and the reamed 8mm hole for the axle. So the next part is fitting the axle blocks, fitting the axles and fitting the wheels.